So Ken Fanger and I did a webinar, a couple months ago? A while back.
Flies when you get old.
Time flies, yeah. It was really well attended. He's going to bring us up some chairs.
Oh.
And a really good conversation. So we thought we would attempt to recreate the magic of that webinar and have another conversation about, what are we calling this today? Humanizing security AI is not enough. So please help me welcome Ken Fanger.
Before we begin, Lisa, I want to ask all of you to do one thing for me. I'm going to show you something. I want to take you on a journey with me. I want all of you to stand up right now. Stand up. I know, this is kind of out of bounds, but I got to keep you away from lunch, so I got to make it really exciting. Do you guys feel that energy out there? Do you feel the difference? Nobody's looking at their phone right now. You're all looking up here. I want to take a minute and tell you that energy is in every one of your organizations. If you're not harnessing it, it's attacking you. And we'll talk about that a little bit. You can sit down now, but I wanted to get you engaged, and I wanted to show how power can be used both ways.
Okay, human-centered cybersecurity. How have we failed to put people in the middle of the security journey, and how has that hurt us? Let's start there.
Well, and we hold Margaret talking about positive. But she said a statement that I really wanted to focus in on, which is people don't care about security. I disagree with that statement. I think the thing is, people value things. I don't think anyone in this room, if I walked up to you and pointed a gun at your face, you wouldn't worry about the fact that I have a gun pointed in your face. But here's the problem we have, and I want to share this story. So anybody know where Clyde, Ohio is? It's out near Lima. I think there's 2,000 people in like 100 million square miles. I don't know. It's a tiny place. That's where my family came from. I grew up in Cleveland. When I was 7 years old, I went out and I visited my uncle, and he took me to his factory where he's the vice president. He got out of the car and he threw the keys on the front seat. I got out of the car and locked the door. Do you guys see the different value conversation there? He's not used to the idea that his car is not safe. I don't think any of us, if we're from a big city, would ever leave our keys sitting on a front seat out in a public space. We need to ask the first question, what value do these people have? What is it that they value? And I'll tell you, we do CMMC, Cybersecurity Model Certification. Why we have to use acronyms for everything, I'll never know, but that's a great way to drive everybody out. But one of the things that we have that is a risk that is not normally a risk for everybody else is the attackers don't want you to know they're attacking. So I was talking with a company that makes torpedoes.
Literally?
Literally makes torpedo casings. And they've been torpedo casings since 1936. And they're like, why do I need this? I've never needed this before. I don't want this. And here's the problem. We think of ransomware attacks and identity theft and fraud. But the Russians do not want to stop them from making those torpedoes. What they want to do is find out what's wrong with that torpedo, let them continue to make that mistake, and then when we're in war, use it to stop our defenses. But how do you tell a person, hi, I need $200,000 to protect you from somebody finding out what's wrong with you, but letting you continue to do it? And so I had to change the conversation. And one of the first things I do is I ask them, are you a veteran? Have you seen combat? What would you worth to save your friend in a combat situation? What is it worth to save that Marine from dying on that submarine? Because that's what we're talking about when you're talking CMMC, which for those who don't know it, it is the Department of Defense's new cybersecurity standard. But there's a conversation. I had to find a value, because $200,000 is not cheap. And we just kind of go, we just assume the value. But we don't ask the value. My uncle was really peeved at me because in his world, what I did was insane. So how do you balance that as we go? Because saying, be safe, Lisa, you have to be safe. There's packers out there. If I don't see it, I have real threats in my life. I have to worry about my kids going to college. I have to worry about hitting by a bus. I have to worry about, you've got to make that cross connection.
So talk a little bit more about CMMC for those that aren't familiar with it.
So, love talking about CMMC. I love compliance, and I hate it at the same time. So CMMC is basically NIST 800-171 controls with a framework to make sure that you do it. And I do want to share this story. So I was out at a conference about 1.5 years ago, and they were doing CMMC. And the government is very angry that we haven't already done CMMC. They're very angry because back in 2016, they put a law that says, you should do this. And then there was no consequences. And I sat there because there was a general up presenting, and he's going, this should cost you nothing because you've already been doing it, and I can't understand why none of you have done it. And then somebody told me a joke, and it hit me what the main problem was. This is the joke that he said. He said, what did they ask Armstrong when he came back from the moon? And his answer was, I was sitting on a bomb built by the lowest bidder. And I suddenly put those two things together. I suddenly went, we reward the cheapest solution, but then we get angry that people don't spend $200, $500, $700, $1 million to do cybersecurity, but the person who wins doesn't spend that money. Because look at it. If I have to spend $200,000 to be cyber secure, and I don't have any force to do it, you're always going to win the person who didn't do it. We have to ask, what is it we really want people to do? So we do NIST. I'm one of the cyber reservists. If you don't know what that is, please go look it up. It's a phenomenal organization. We volunteer to help all of Ohio be safer. I think they're actually looking at other states starting to implement this too. It's a great way to give back. But when we're doing this, when you do CMMC and you just do NIST 80171, you're going to be putting in a framework. But you want to remember that a framework has to be a culture. And we keep forgetting that. We think, and we've said this today, and we've talked about it, pound, 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 make people do it. And if we don't make them do it, beat them into submission. And then we don't know why everybody's like, I don't want to do it. And I'll tell you, right now, I'm guilty of this, and we're all guilty of this. We've created a culture where the people we're protecting do this statement. Your job. You're in charge of security. You're in charge of protecting me. Could you imagine if you went to the doctor and did the same thing? How many of you go to the doctor and say, doctor, make me healthy? And expect the doctor to make you healthy? The doctor will tell you what to do, but who's finally responsible for being healthy? Trust me, I'm not doing a good job of it. I need to be better. But that's what we do to cybersecurity experts. We expect them to protect us. Instead of making them the doctor that gives us the prescriptive path. And then let's face it, how many of us follow what our doctor tells us to do? How many of you eat enough vegetables? Any vegetables?
It's just a few.
We got one person, yeah, she's healthy. We need to realize the first conversation we have to have is a value conversation, because and another story, I love stories. So I was at a school district. And how many of us know the 5-minute timeout? That's best practice, right? You have your screen time up in 5 minutes. I want you to think about being a teacher in a classroom where your screen locks every 5 minutes, and you're trying to do a lecture to a class. Does that sound like that would make a lot of sense? So you know what the teachers did? They brought in their own laptops.
Oh, boy.
And we all sit there like, oh, boy. But here's something. Dr. Adams out of the UK, amazing woman. She started a great question, or a great thing on humanizing security back in the 90s. She said, if people are doing workarounds, don't punish them. Find out why your system is stopping them from doing their job. Which is a really change in mentality. And it took me a while to realize it. I'm like, wait a minute. That's right. If somebody's trying to do their job, and I'm creating too much cyber friction, maybe my problem is mine. Maybe